Welcome to On the Couch, and round 19 is in the books, and Nathan Buckley is back in the house from the Rocky Mountains of Canada. Bucks, looking rugged.
It was beautiful.
Beautiful?
It's great. I missed you, though.
Well, we've given you one of the toughest tasks in footy. We've got you sitting next to the great Mike Sheahan. Mike, welcome back this week. How are you feeling, Bucks, sitting next to Mike?
Well, I'm used to a big presence down this end of the couch, but this is another level again. The aura on this man is overwhelming.
Where's the sting?
No, there's no sting at all, mate. That's it. Full stop.
Is that it?
Have a look at him.
He's got a bigger aura than Jonathan Brown, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he's small in physical stature, big in aura.
What about the bloke who was in that chair last week?
Oh, no.
The great Lethal.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll do my best.
I'm happy to be runner-up.
Very good. Well, we're going to kick off the show. Mike, can you give us a bit of observations?
Before we start, I think it's important that we acknowledge someone who's very important to the Fox Footy Network, and that's Robert Walls, who would have been 75 today.
Very good.
Right. He's a great friend of so many people in football and of this place.
He's an integral piece to this program.
Yeah, he was, and he's a very good commentator, even though lots of us had crosswords with him, but he was very good.
And your observations from the
well,
weekend?
I did see one thing, Jack, that will take your fancy.
Yes?
I saw the very reason why we must have a roof on the stadium in Tasmania on Saturday in the Hawthorn-Port game. Now, the rain came.
Rain's in football, isn't it?
Now, of course it's raining, but we're starting from scratch here. And we're going to build a new stadium, and it should be... I know you and I can talk about this because...
This is rain, isn't it?
This is rain. We've both lived in Tassie, and if it's 12 degrees here, it's about 8 in Tasmania. Would you agree?
1.2 degrees usually colder in Tasmania, but that is torrential rain. They're not great conditions for
Now,
football.
Tassie is the driest state in the country.
Second driest capital, Nathan. Are we going to reel off Tasmania?
No, I was just wondering. Ben Dixon would back you up because he was on the boundary and he was absolutely saturated.
And I have lived in Tassie, as you have. And Jordan, you've played plenty of football in Tasmania.
I don't think I've seen or play. Maybe one game. I think of the 50 games that I'd played in Tasmania, the one that was probably the wettest was the one where Bud kicked 13. But I can't remember playing in conditions like that. We did a game early on in the season that the Hawks play, and the wind was ferocious. It didn't rain, but I think because of the spectacle, it makes sense that if they can, to have a roof on the stadium.
Yeah, agree.
The positive sign out of this is the state election on the weekend. That 70% of Tasmanians voted for a party that wants the stadium, Mike. So we won't have to see this in season
Jack,
2028.
We're going to end up with the same parliament that we had before the election.
Well, we're not the same people. A few different mechanisms. Hopefully we can get some
Were you nervous
some
before
clarity.
the weekend?
Oh, very nervous. Very nervous.
Were you nervous before the weekend?
No, not at all.
Okay.
That's a poignant question. Mike, the state of the game. We're going to get bad games of footy in bad weather, but the state of the game.
And look, this is an old person expressing some reservations about the game, but I find it bland at the moment.
In what way?
Well, on the weekend we had 9 games. Only one would have enticed me, in retrospect, to go and watch it from start to finish, and that was Collingwood and Freo. And the fare on Saturday was terrible.
What do you think's missing? What's when you watch the game and you compare it?
Too many uncontested possessions. Too many. I think the umpires over officiate, and certainly still miss a lot. It's an extremely difficult game to umpire. And the gap between the good and the bad is just widening, and it shouldn't be. I mean, that's totally contrary to what we set out to do. That was to have an even competition.
Is the spectacle on the AFL here in the fixturing? Because the floating fixture is there, but we're going to get Essendon in primetime slots and Carlton in primetime slots over the back part of the season. Is that ruining it to the eye?
It's not a good idea. I think that they should reserve the right to change it at, say, a month's notice rather than lock themselves in. But why do we have a 6-6-6 set up at the start of a game and then allow 30 players to be in one half of the ground or 25 to be in the forward 50?
That's not just 2025, though, isn't it? The advent of that's been almost 2 decades.
Yeah, but the 6-6-6 rule's new.
No, it is. But so would you advocate that for a stoppage in the midfield that we have a quota of players that should be in the 50s?
I just want to eliminate this. Now, I mean, Cyril Rioli wouldn't get out of there. I mean, just that we've had ball up after ball up because that's the way it's played. The tackling, emphasis on tackling is so great. There were 7 of these neutral contests in a row.
So Greg Swan's looking at this. Day dot today for Greg Swan. How do you fix this?
I don't know, but Swanee is a good man. He's an experienced football person, but he said at the weekend that the game was in fantastic health.
That's not fair.
I reckon he's got a to-do list that's longer than Mason Cox. So he needs to get his feet under the table and just see what is in front of him.
the answer to that is holding the ball, in my mind. Take away Pryor. If you take away Pryor, reward the tackler, and if you reward the tackler, then the ball carrier won't hatch it for as long, and he'll kick it long out of that contest, and that disperses.
I can't understand any of you three saying reward the tackler ahead of the bloke who's won the footy.
Well, what do you want?
Well, I don't know. I just don't want that. I don't want rolling mauls.
Well, you've got to reward the tackler if you don't want that. That will disperse the congestion.
What, just so as soon as you take possession? Don't be patronising, Buckley.
Which is contrary to what the game has been.
Yeah. Having said that, the last minute of the Collingwood Fremantle game was fascinating for exactly the same reason. Collingwood laid 3 tackles, got the Fremantle player to ground, and then took their hands off the player, forcing him or asking him to do something with the ball. And that didn't quite work, but you can see it was trained.
So there wasn't a stalemate and a bounce of the ball.
Yeah. Well, it's like those 2-minute drills, but this time you're trying. Okay, you don't want congestion. You want the ball to be knocked out. So that was fascinating itself.
Well, let's talk about Collingwood Fremantle, because it was one of the watchable games on the weekend. And Bucks, you were there, and there's something about Fremantle and speed of ball movement and Collingwood speed of ball movement that's starting to become really true about the form of both of those two teams.
Yeah, well, a fascinating game and like an awesome performance by Fremantle to be able to get up over the Pies at the end. The change in their ball use has been widely spoken about and speculated, and how they went faster at the end to chase the game and to be able to finish. We know that we've looked at the speed of game numbers, which are quite arbitrary at the moment, but we're learning more about them. And the difference in the first 3 quarters and the last quarter for Fremantle was stark. If we have a look at the first 3 quarters, let's understand the top left. That number of 62, I call that the hot potato ratio. So how quickly does a player get it in and out of his hands, or in his hands and then off for a kick? The middle one is basically how long the disposal is, so how far it travels. So a kick goes further than a handball, so it's versely kicks versus handballs. Over 100 is more distance. Under 100 is less. And the last one is what I call north-south. So are you going direct to goal, or are you going laterally east-west? So if you're going direct to goal, your score's going to be over 100. So as you can see there, first 3 quarters, Fremantle were at 83, and their total ranking in terms of speed of ball movement over those 3 areas was 78.
And 100 being the AFL average of all teams average combined in speed of ball movement, those 3 facets there.
And that's not good, bad or indifferent. Like, higher is not necessarily better. It's just the plan that you go in with. Well, Fremantle realised they needed to speed it up. So in the last quarter, it looks significantly different. If we look at this was in the first 3 quarters. So Fremantle was scanning. I thought Collingwood's team D, and they own the corridor as well as anyone. So the opposition's defensive setup is going to have an impact on your ability to put speed on your ball use. Some teams will just roll the dice and go with it, but Fremantle, when you do defend them well, they will stop and prop and then try and spread the ground a little bit, and that's what Collingwood were able to do for the most part in the first 3 quarters. In the last quarter, it changed, and Fremantle did speed up and they did go for it. So if you look at this, it went from, I think, 76, 78 to over 100. So it was not like just over average. But if you have a look at the distance to goal, it went from 80-odd to 179. That's their second. So that's north-south. That's direct to goal. So that's their second highest quarter for the year. They kicked 4 goals too in this quarter. All 6 of those scores were from behind halfway. And if we have a look at the vision, you can see that there's a slightly different way that they went about it. So they had to take the game on. They were prepared to drive to corridor. I don't think Collingwood defended the corridor quite as well, and Fremantle took advantage of that. So it was a bit of perfect storm. And that was a handball chain that finished with an O'Meara goal early in the quarter. And then this one here is probably one that's been shown up. Sean Darcy, who pops up out of this contest. They've looked corridor. Once again, Collingwood left a big hole through the centre square. I think that'll come up in review because it fuelled Fremantle's need and want to go fast. And this last one's been the poster boy kick. Banfield, who's not known for his precision use, but Hayden Young has found himself in that space. Collingwood weren't giving that up in the first 3 quarters. So it's a balance of what Freo's intent, but also what Collingwood allowed.
So is this a gear that they've got? Because this is 2 weeks in a row that we've seen Fremantle change the game and change the way the game is played. Now, there's a freneticness to it because they've been behind in both of those games, but is this a sneaky little gear that Justin Longmuir has developed that needs to, when he needs it, he uses it.
Well, it's a gear you need to have, whether you're Fremantle, whether you're Brisbane, which we'll speak about, whether you're Collingwood. I think in the last quarter at that game, there was a change in the way that Collingwood defended. It seemed like it was more man-on-man, so they could be manipulated a little bit. And I wonder how much of the corridor being open was for Collingwood to use it as well. Because there was a couple of times coming out of their own defensive 50 that, you know, Nick Dacos hooking the ball back into the corridor and plays like that. But I think it's a real tick. And the good sides sit in the contest for as long as they possibly need to and can. But then once the game gets to a point where you've got to take a risk and it's an arm wrestle, then you've got to have that next gear to go to, which may not have been Fremantle in the past.
But what, the layman's observation, why do you need to be in a desperate situation before you take a sense of adventure?
Well, I think coaches would say early on in the game there's probably no point taking those risks because against good sides like Collingwood, who are good on the counter-attack, can really make you hurt. So then the confidence level of the team drops. Good sides can do it all game, I think, but sides who are not naturally aggressive in their ball movement, if you do it early and it doesn't come off, the confidence level drops.
That's a good list, Jordan, the Fremantle list. And they're now back in a situation where most of us thought they would be at the start of the year.
Well, I think that, like, the whole idea of a speed of ball movement, it's a dance with the opposition's defence and how, you know, if you've got pressure on ball, it's hard to put chains together. If you've got pressure on ball, you can set up with intercept markers and you can have defenders that don't actually... They become aggressors rather than having to defend the opposition ball movement. But I think Collingwood, that's for the most part, they defend so well that they stifle opposition offences. But Fremantle were able to break through that in the last quarter against the best defensive side in the competition, which is a great sign for them in the next.
So do you think Justin Longmuir will change his strategy now and be more offensive?
No, I think that if they've got that gear, I think that's good to know. I think Hayden Young made a difference too. He came on at three-quarter time. He had 4 score involvements of those 6, 7 touches. Like, it helps when you get the ball and you better use it.
The last one from me, Jack, on this: 63 inside 50s to Collingwood and 40 to Freo.
It's an interesting stat, isn't it? It's a fascinating number, and I think
a lot of repeat.
35 forward, 50 tackles. The Pies.
Yeah. So maybe there is a way to beat Collingwood. When we're talking about speed of ball movement, we weren't the only ones talking about it. The Collingwood coach had this to say about Freo's speed, especially in the last quarter.
In our eyes, we thought Fremantle were really, really good when they needed to. When they needed to get the job done, they really came hard. They play good brand of footy when they're up and going fast, isn't it? Like, maybe they should play a bit more of that at times. It's a good version of them.
Maybe they should play it a little bit more. It's a good version of them. Is that a perplexing comment by Craig McRae?
Not to me. No, I didn't have an issue with that. Some people might think that it was a dig. I agree with him.
Well, do you think
that's a loaded question?
Well,
why are you asking that?
I find it interesting that he would make that comment about the opposition and sort of say, well, you need to do this, rather than Craig McRae.
I don't think he said that.
Craig McRae's been a coach that has always focused on his team. And that was a comment around the opposition that I probably don't think needed to be made. What were your thoughts?
Maybe you like what he saw.
Well,
maybe he's encouraging them to do more.
I think you ex-footballers walk on eggshells too much. And sort of see what did he mean there? Was he having a crack at them? Is it sarcastic? I think we worry way too much about that.
It's a little bit of an issue with the modern media. Is that we want our football identities to show a little bit of colour and to say something a little bit different, but then we whack them in the head when they do.
Exactly.
Well, we might have a few more of those later in the show where a few have come back to bite a few of people on the bottom when they've said things or done things in certain games. Is there a worry for Collingwood Bucks? That's 2 in a row now and a really poor first half against the Gold Coast last week, but is there a worry?
I think they missed Jeremy Howe behind the ball. And I think there's obviously other players, and I think they missed Billy Frampton, you know, to be that sort of big key player that sort of plays on the opposition's biggest forward. So the Collingwood have enough out, and they've done extremely well over the last 5 or 6 weeks to buffer that. McCreary and Schultz back in will hold them in good stead. I'm not concerned.
Bobby Hill's a big one, I reckon.
I'm not and De Goey potentially. I'm not concerned for Collingwood at all. I think they're in good shape. I didn't think they were out in front as much as people thought they were 4 or 5 weeks ago. they'll be thereabouts and well in the mix.
That's a big drop. Yeah. That's a big drop. That means you're relying heavily on stoppages and playing the game in your half, which they got on the weekend. Their forward connection was a bit of an issue, and maybe that is part of the reason why their scores from back half dropped on the weekend, because it lived in their forward half for a long period of time. But I'd be worried about that. 7 points and 6 points, 2 consecutive weeks without scoring a goal, a little bit over a goal per game from their back half.
But Jordan, if Jamie Elliott kicks the goal that he had from 40, which you'd back Elliott to do, they win the game.
Yeah, I think with Collingwood in the early part of the season, it was who was going to get close to them, who was going to beat them. I think with these games at the moment, there's just a little bit of, as a player, you would say that they're vulnerable, and I think that's all opposing teams need. They went through this stage, I think, of invincibility, where it's like, wow, this is the best side in the competition by so far. They don't look like that at the moment. They're still the best side, but not by as much as they did in the start of the season.
Well, the worry going into last night was going to be the availability of Darcy Moore in a late tussle with Josh Tracy. John Riewoldt has the latest. What's the go with the Collingwood captain, John?
Hello, Jack. So no suspension for Darcy Moore, not even a fine either, after he dropped his knees into Josh Tracy in the frantic final moments of that Collingwood loss. So the MRO certainly looked at it. They classified that it was a 15-metre penalty, which was a sufficient penalty. Freo didn't report any injury, so he certainly got a clean bill of health there, though he wasn't thrilled at that stage. The MRO judged that Tracy dived forward, Moore dived after him. It wasn't sufficiently careless was the for a fine. So Hugh Jackson for Port Adelaide a couple of weeks back got a fine for, I thought, a really obvious knee into the guts of Dane Zorko. So it was never going to be a suspension there. I think a fine would have been probably a better outcome. What do you think, panel?
What are your thoughts on...
I think fine.
I reckon he's lucky. I reckon that's a suspension. That looked like that is a knee into the kidneys of a player there. A vulnerable player who's on the ground.
Yeah, I thought it was...
That's
clearly...
That's late, isn't it?
Clearly sloppy from Darcy. You know, whether it deserves a week, I'm not sure. Maybe a fine.
If it was Toby Green, what do you reckon?
Oh, well, there's probably a different outcome.
Why? Yeah, well, why?
Yeah, I'm not.
No, I know, but I think he's lucky. I think it was sloppy and
suspendable.
I think it could have got a week. Yeah, I mean it's.
You can usually tell by the reaction of the players.
It should be one that's nearly 0 or 2 or that sort of action. It should be either, no, it wasn't deliberate, or it was. And if it was deliberate, then it's up sort of 2 or 3. But I can understand why it wasn't cited. But I reckon he'd be wiping the brow.
The good bloke factor.
Okay.
Maybe.
Well, the biggest tribunal case from the weekend, Ralph, is Stephen May. What's the fallout for the important demon?
Well, not just this week, potentially the last decade, given how seismic this one is. This is really a test case with Stephen May. Add it to the test cases like Hunter Clark and David Mackay, the Braden Maynard smother on Angus Brayshaw. This is the first time the MRO has had a chance to send a case to the tribunal, but only given it 3 weeks since the start of last year when it had that facility. So Michael Christian is basically pleading for guidance from the AFL tribunal. He and Laura Kane have both said to people across the weekend this is the toughest decision they've had in their time at the AFL, and for Chriso that's been 9 years. So Chriso's judgment is that May absolutely had too much velocity coming into this incident, and of course he needs to accept the ramifications of it, but the tribunal is going to set a new precedent for the next couple of years. So the fascinating side subject to this conversation, guys, is concussion and whether the AFL is prepared to live with it. So we've now seen 5 incidents that have potentially been, certainly have seen players not suspended or potentially in the May case overturned. So these are the 5 incidents either cleared by Chris O or, as I say, with Alex Pearce, got up to the tribunal, sent back for no penalty. Bucks, I think you've been a cynic at times of whether the MRO only considers the outcome. It's just too outcome based. But I think the question here is we're realising there are areas of the game where we have to preserve certain parts of football, even if there is the odd concussions. And I think certainly if May is suspended, we'll take away a part of that. Otherwise, we'll get to that situation where potentially a knee in the back of the head in a marking contest could see someone suspended. Bucks, what's your thoughts on this? Can we accept a level of concussion in cases like the Stephen May case?
Oh, I think that's exactly what we have seen recently, Ralphie. I do think that there has been an acceptance in the last, and some of those incidents, case in point, in the last couple of months where we understand that there are going to be collisions in the act of playing the game that are hard to slate back to, the careless conditions or the careless actions of an individual. So I think that this is what's always up for debate. So the tribunal will be sitting against Stephen May to say, were your actions careless in the circumstances?
Well, do you think they were?
I don't think they
You
were.
don't?
I think you need to prove...
Intent and careless are different things, though.
Intent is apparently not part of it. It's what
Unless
would
it's
what would a
deliberate
reason-
off the ball, which
what
is
would
the
a
only way you'll get
reasonable-
intentional.
What would a reasonable player do in those circumstances is what will be asked.
So what's your gut feel? Is he in trouble?
I think he's going to win the footy.
So 0 weeks?
I can't see how that can be upheld.
I think he's in trouble because of the mood at the moment, but I'm not sure what his alternative.
What do you mean by the mood?
Well, because now if you hit a bloke in the head, and he hurt the Carlton boy,
Evans.
didn't he?
But it used to be if you left the ground, you were
Yeah.
vulnerable.
Yeah.
Stephen May didn't leave the ground.
No, he
Evans at the last second tries to evade Stephen May, which should be in their case. And Stephen May's 195 centimetres. Frankie Evans is 180. So there's 15 centimetres difference, which means that his head meets his shoulder.
The ball pops up on the last bounce. It's running away, pops back up towards Evans. Like there's evidence that Melbourne will go to that I think put enough doubt in any case to try and prove that was absolutely careless and unreasonable.
Well,
I think this is a lay down misère for 3 weeks. Like this is a clear hit to the head.
No.
From a shoulder.
So you don't think he was contesting the ball?
I think the velocity that he's come in at is
defensive 50. What are you going to do? Just dance around him?
tackle him.
Well, the ball
You're
is
second to the ball, and I'm not sold that that's a
have the
play
ball.
on the ball either.
What was it then?
Like I feel like he came in at a fast speed, and you might judge the bounce of the ball there, but he just continued to run straight.
How do
through.
you prove that?
Well, that'll be up for the tribunal. I think there's so much grey area. That's why you see
it's half
someone
a second late.
like myself on one side and so many people vehemently on the other side there.
What about Alex Pearce?
He's collected him.
What about
Well, and this is what's going to happen, Mike, is that how well Stephen May can go to tribunal and plead his case. Because Alex Pearce did that and did it very well, and that's why he got off. The different thing with Alex Pearce, though, is that there was a motion to spoil the ball.
He left the ground.
I don't feel like Stephen May made a real football
Do
motion.
you think there's this Toby Green element about Stephen May?
Well, I think we're starting to develop, mate. He's loosely known for these high-velocity collisions.
His hands were down. How can you not make a play at the ball if your hands are down?
Yeah. It's up there.
What would
It's a
you have
short
done,
bit of
Jack?
vision.
I would have slowed up. And I don't know whether Stephen May's got this in. I don't know if there's the ability to teach Stephen May to slow down, because that's what he is. He's a brute. You've played with him. You know.
Jordan, don't
You
go
wouldn't
to
have
the
slowed
ball.
down.
No, absolutely
No,
not.
Jordan wouldn't have slowed down.
The only
times
thing,
you
if I'm...
suspended?
No, you play. Yeah, well, I mean, we can have this argument all night. I think he's unlucky. You think he's not unlucky. That play to me seems like he was playing the ball. Now, there's a lot of other.
If I'm the AFL, I'm asking, why didn't you put your hands out to try and get to the football first? That would be... The answer to that question will be instructive, whether Stephen May can answer that clearly enough to mitigate against the carelessness.
We'll find out at tribunal. We do have to move on, Mike. The Bulldogs. It's a perplexing sort of setup, isn't it?
It is.
They signed Luke Beveridge midway after a lot of conversation. What are your thoughts?
Retrospectively, I think both the Bulldogs and Luke Beveridge would like their time over again. It's his 11th season at the club. There's pressure. He divides opinion. I'm a Beveridge fan, but he divides opinion. Like for Kane Corns. Kane Corns keeps telling people they've got the best list in the competition and the worst coach.
But that doesn't make it true, does it?
No, it doesn't matter. But if you tell people something often enough, they start to believe it. And I just reckon it was time for Bevo just to he's a good coach in my view, just to have a look at go back, have a look at the picture like John Longmire's doing, and maybe go somewhere else.
They waited a while though.
They did.
They waited a long time.
Why did they need to renew him when they did?
Why do you think they did? Did you think they needed to wait?
I don't know,
Did the Bulldogs just jump? Is that what you...
I think they did, yeah.
I think he's a good coach. We did the game on Friday night, and it's not until you look at the experience of the list that jumps off the page. There were 7 or 8 guys under 50 games, which is 33% of your list that are playing on the weekend. Significant amount of the list, and some of these players are going to be really good players in time. I think in 2 years, 3 years, and a lot of their star players will still be around. That will be when they'll be premiership favourites.
Will Bevo be the coach?
I think it will be, yeah. Yep.
I think they had a couple of their experienced players that had really bad games on the weekend. I thought Williams was off, and I thought Johannesson was off. So they're two. When you're carrying 9 players under 50 games, and then 2 of the others have bad games, I think and bad games in terms of their contests and their energy and their consistency. That makes you vulnerable, and that's where the Dogs are.
But there's a reason why you win 1 out of 8 games against the top teams, isn't there? Something's missing in that group.
Yeah, and I think Bevo's pointed to the defensive side of their game, which is. But you look at the margins there, and that's been well documented. So, I mean, they're in games, which is a positive. Clearly, there's a lot of red there, which is not the way that they want to be. But they get another test coming up. I think the other side to the story, which shouldn't get lost, is Brisbane. And aren't they? We've spoken all year about motivation from a premiership team to then hit their straps come the second half. And Brisbane, funnily enough, did this last year. Halfway through the season, it was if we're going to dance, we may as well dance on ice. So their offensive game became a real feature. And I think on the weekend we got some evidence to say that it had, and the risk that they take through the middle of the ground. And you spoke about speed of ball movement, and this was certainly the case through Brisbane. And I think when you watch this, there's not too many. So their options, a lot of sides would take to go wide and really challenge. That's another options that I reckon 80% of the sides would take. Fair options. Not Brisbane. They're prepared to go straight down the middle of the ground, direct to goal. So then if that is a turnover, look at the numbers and the layers that they have to come back through, right? So Brisbane know where the ball's going. They're able to set up defensively behind that and then really struggled to go against. So once again, you can go wide to Darcy Fort. Then no. We've understand that this is a direct line to goal. Once again, if you win that as the Western Bulldogs will, where will you go? You're not going to try and challenge back through the middle of the ground because there's density. There's the Brisbane Lions players, so they force them wide. So this has become an offensive threat. Look at this kick from Huey McCluggage. How many sides do you see go long down the line to the ruckman and then get a stoppage, a little bit more congestion? They are doing this better than any side in the competition. But once again, if that ball turns over, they're in a really great place defensively. So it's been really positive from an offensive point of view. But if you look at the defensive side of it, so intercept to score against, they've gone from 5th to 2nd. So improvement of 3 places. Scores per inside 50, 8th to 6th as well. So on the back of it being an offensive threat, as you can see there, it's actually helping them defensively.
And in terms of that north-south number that we're talking about, they've gone from a bottom 4 team, moving the ball laterally to try and find a hole and then go, to a side that wants to go through. And
that's powerful.
I think they're ranked 2nd or something for now for that north-south number being direct to goal.
But
those edits show that.
The better sides play that style, don't they?
There's not too many playing as aggressive as.
Do you worry that the better sides might
do?
pick them apart though when they do go up the middle? Because it does give you an opportunity to turn the ball over.
Well, I think if opposition players over-index in the middle, they'll go around. They'll test you around, and if you over-index on the outside, they'll test you through the middle.
It's your appetite for chaos.
Yep.
Like, go take the contest towards your goals and then trust that you're going to get a good contest 50 metres, 60 metres away. And even if you miss a 40-metre target, you got a chance to win that ground ball and you're really well set up behind the ball. So I think Geelong have been a side that have done that well. We know that Adelaide are proving to be a really good offensive side that trust their aerial targets, so they'll go long down the line and speed up off that. So it should be some good footy played in September.
Mike, do you trust the forwards at Brisbane? Do you trust Eric Hipwood?
No, Jack, thank you. No, I don't. I mean, there are some players who seem that there's no way that they'll ever be dropped from a team. But I don't know about Hipwood. I mean, I don't think he's as good as he was 3 years ago.
Do you think he'd be there if Joe Danaher was still on Brisbane?
Well, I think
right
Fages has got faith in him, and they won a premiership with that duo. But he's kicked 2 goals in the last 2 grand finals, and I can't believe someone who's had as much football as he's had, with the obvious talent that he shows occasionally, can be so wayward as he was again on the weekend. And even when he got the rare opportunity, he muffed that. I would send him back to the seconds for a while.
Oh, it's a big call. Well, a big call from the weekend was the sideshow to Port Adelaide versus Hawthorn. Come fly with me, and it was Jack Ginnivan who got the last laugh. And he wasn't the only one laughing. Get a shot of the Port Adelaide box here too. You can see the fans enjoying it. Kenny had a little laugh as well. We'll dissect that all next on the couch.
Let's fly away.
Every good side I've been a part of gets a kick in the nuts at some stage. Today was our kick in the nuts.
Neil Bullen had a look. Walker, and he's been doing it for almost 20 years. But a very disappointing first half for the Gold Coast Suns. They would have thought they were past this. Damien Hardwick, he's not happy.
We're still a side that is learning how to win those big games, and this year we've been good at stages, but we've been disappointing.
It was a non-contest here today. It's hard not to love what the Adelaide Crows are doing.
Yes, it's hard not to love what the Adelaide Crows are doing in a game that promised so much on Super Sunday, on the Sunday ticket. 54-9 at half-time. It was an absolute demolition by the Adelaide Crows and 61-point winners in the end, Mike.
They hadn't kicked a goal at half-time.
They were horrible in that first,
They were terrible.
In the
first
third
half.
quarter.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there was a sign the previous week. Their second half against Collingwood was poor, wasn't it?
Well, they were beaten up. And this is big boy month for Damien Hardwick at the moment. And this was their first big challenge. They get another one against Brisbane, the big brother up the road this week. But this was a challenge that they needed to stand up, and they completely failed this test.
They did.
And I think Matthew Nicks, after round 4, circled this game. After what happened at the end of round 4, they were obviously beaten by a point, Adelaide, up there at the Suns. And Mac Andrew especially was one that got in the face of Riley Thilthorpe, who kicked 5 that day and was nearly the best player on the ground. And they went after Mac on the weekend. It was the return of the Mac to Adelaide Oval. He was booed. He gave away back-to-back free kicks. He cost back-to-back goals bucks. And I think the Suns would look back on what happened in round 4 and think maybe we got it wrong with Mac, and the way he behaved. Definitely, I reckon Adelaide came out with a point to prove.
I think when you've got those bookends and you can compare something from earlier in the season, and then sort of there's something to keep an eye on the next time around. Mac Andrews had a disappointing year.
Coach Buckley, what do you do with him this week?
Well, it depends on what the conversations that have been had.
Could he fix a problem, Bucks? Because at the moment, the 3 key forwards at Gold Coast aren't working.
I think it's a little bit of tough love to keep Mac Andrew where he is. I mean, it's so easy just to throw him forward, but maybe that's the art of it, isn't it?
This is the problem they need to fix, though. You look at those 3 players there, like Ben King, he's 2nd or 3rd in the Coleman medal, Ethan Reid and Jed Walter. I mean, that is glaringly obvious that they had the same amount or more inside 50s than Adelaide at half-time. You're down 55 points and you're not getting anything from your key forward.
Yeah, so the forward 50 and the defensive 50 just were getting obliterated. Midfield was fine, but either side was really struggling. I think the Suns have got the biggest fluctuation in their best and the worst on those 9 clubs that are competing for finals. And Adelaide showed it up.
But isn't the Mac Andrews situation about behaviour rather than where he's best placed to play?
Well, I think there's an element of... Damien Hardwick's style is not to leave anyone on the island. It will be to bring him in, because there will be... I imagine Mac may have a sense of embarrassment about the weekend, but
It's not the first time.
And his season.
It's not the first time. And the
a little
season.
bit of shame.
But maybe this is
Absolutely.
the chance to get a small... If the Gold Coast are to play finals, they can't have their key forwards serving up what they're serving up at the moment. And Mac Andrew is a player that is shown to be able to market predominantly behind the ball, but has played forward as well. Maybe it is a time they need to pull the lever and just change it up for him.
I think they're quickly learning how hard it is to be at the top of the ladder. And I know they're not in the top 4, but to be a successful side for a long period of time, and even throughout the season, you've spoken about their fluctuation, it is the hardest spot to sit. You've been through it, I've been through it, you've been through it. Until you're there, you realise your vulnerabilities get shown up more so than ever.
Well, a side that's been through that for the last couple of years is Adelaide. You know, their 22-23 seasons were good. They were close and thereabouts. They had a dip last year, but they've come back with a vengeance. Like their turnover numbers are through the roof. Like, so we haven't seen, plus 23 points from turnovers differential across the season to date is as good as it gets, on record. So, and we've known them, the best of Adelaide, like the best of the Gold Coast Suns, has been good enough for 3 or 4 years, but it's buffering your down periods. How do you hold up? And Adelaide are holding up when they don't have control of a game, and they're absolutely sieving sides when they get an opportunity.
But none of us would have accepted the Gold Coast performance.
No.
No.
And it makes this week so much bigger, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They were beaten up against
They almost
Brisbane
have to win, don't
early
they?
on in the season. It's going to be a fascinating game from the weekend. And the byproduct, Mike, was the Jack v Kenny down at UTAS Stadium. What did you make of Jack's little aeroplane celebration in the last
I liked
quarter?
it. That's Ginnivan. There's no issue with that. And I still can't believe that the AFL fined Kenny Hinkley 20 grand for
20 large.
Well, Clarko nearly knocked the MCG down one day in the coaches' box. Remember that?
Wouldn't you,
And there were no penalty for
we're probably
that.
going back over old but wouldn't you think the Ken Hinkley one was a bit provocative?
No. Oh, well, you want to talk. Provocative.
For a player to player, but a coach to another team that the game has been done.
There's been a lot of surprising
that could have
decisions.
escalated.
You know, I reckon the AFL. I don't agree with that. I think the AFL
That could have escalated big time.
I think the AFL could, not posthumously, but retrospectively,
Sorry,
just give him the 20.
There was a
20
suggestion
back.
that maybe on Kenny's last game, the big check comes out from the AFL, the novelty check, and they actually hand back the 20
That's
large.
what I'm saying.
It's farcical anyway.
From his port coaching career, hand it back. I mean,
He did play that beautifully, though.
absolutely he did.
That bit
with
there.
a sense of humour.
Surely you're not seriously saying that a coach doing this is provocative
We'll
and
have this
and-
conversation.
It nearly
off
blew
air.
up Jake Sicily there. Well, it was a pretty dismal
Yes, sir.
day on Saturday, and that was a part of Super Saturday here on Fox. But one of the great performances was Isaac Heaney, one of the best performances of the year. I want to ask you this question, Mike. You've lined them up in the schoolyard.
Yep.
Isaac, every player plays at their best. Where do you have Isaac Heaney? Is he number one pick? Because
No, he's not
5
number
goals,
one.
34
No.
possessions.
Who are you picking first?
Well, I'm picking Bonapelli first because
So
he's the
where's
best player
Heaney
week
sit?
after week after week, year after year. Heaney's best is outstanding because he plays tall. He's very good over his head. There's nothing he can't do, but I still don't think he does it often enough.
It's only been at the beginning of last year was when this started.
Yep.
And we feel like it's been happening for 5 or 6 years, but it wasn't. He was a question mark until round
he
one,
was.
2024, and his form since then has been as good as anyone's in the competition. And when you pull out 30 plus 5-goal game,
13 clearances.
and it's nearly like it's happening every 4 or 5 weeks these days. So it's exceptional football, and he's showing us the upper levels of what he's capable of. But it took a while to come along, took a while to come to pass, and now we're seeing it all the time.
And it wasn't against a Collingwood or a Brisbane. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and that's the big watch at the moment for North Melbourne. And I think everyone's looking at North Melbourne with bated breath, waiting for them to announce themselves. And I'm looking at Colby McKercher, a young Tasmanian playing for North Melbourne, who's just signed a new deal, and he's won a very high draft pick. And I'm seeing too much of
He makes
this.
some fundamental mistakes, doesn't he?
Just fundamental mistakes. And I wonder if what's the habit around him? What's the coaching around him at the moment? And this may sound ludicrous, but I think North Melbourne, in their evolution, they've gone and got Parker, they've gone and got Darling, and have identified that they need to get some stronger leaders. If I was North Melbourne, I would go and ask Scott Pendlebury, what's it going to cost to get you
As a coach?
for 1 or 2 years? Now get him as a player.
As a player.
So let's say Collingwood win the flag this year and Pendlebury's a 3-time premiership player. Why wouldn't North Melbourne go, what's it going to cost, Scott, to get you across and change this group?
How do you know he's not a better leader than Luke Parker?
Well, you look at Pendlebury. Do you think Scott Pendlebury's a better leader than Luke?
He's got a little bit more around him.
It might be a great idea for North Melbourne, but if you were Scott Pendlebury, would you do it?
Well, if the money's good enough.
So it's just all money for you.
Well, no. I just think you just got to go. Well, why not ask the question?
He's
You've
about,
asked a lot of
he's
questions
about
at the
to break the
moment.
game's record if he plays into next
If it's
year.
not Pendlebury,
as a
find
single
someone
club
like
player.
him. Find a player out there and go, what's it going to cost? Because at the moment, there's errors like this that I think can be fixed by senior players. By going, Colby, we love the fact that you get 30 possessions a game, but don't run around like it's under 18 footy. Put some real value on your possession. Don't kick it across goal and just think, I'm just going to kick it to Toby Ping and kick it out.
Caleb Daniel might have been that player.
Well, Caleb Daniel's doing it too. So go and find another player that doesn't.
But wouldn't Clarko and Todd Viney and those guys be doing that?
But you need players around. You need senior players to hold that to account. Out on the ground, Mike. You can't. The coach can't do too much at the moment whilst they're sitting up on the coach's box.
The Luke Hodge opportunity for Brisbane is what you're talking about.
And there's not many of them around.
That was when the band was breaking up, wasn't it?
Yep.
So this band, the Collingwood band's not breaking up yet. If you're talking about 18 months down the track, well, then you might have a point in case.
Did you fill that role at Melbourne?
I would like to think that I did in some capacity.
Let's say you did, and we do have to move on because we are running out of time, Mike, because you're talking too much, and I am as well. But we are going to head to the good, the bad, and the ugly next. Don't wait for this one. We've got a couple of rippers in there. I've been banished back to the ugly again. Mike, at the good, and you are going to start us off, Mike, with your good.
Happily so too, Jack. Now, I never find fault with Max Gawn. I love Maxie Gawn, but he shouldn't be allowed to kick the ball forward of centre. I'll show you, this is what happens. Mark Blitz halves every time when he gets a possession forward. He waits for someone to run past him. Jeremy Cameron does it. St Kilda are caught napping. Goal on the board.
Yeah, very good, very good. Always give it to the goal kickers, Mike. I like that. Mine is Maurice Rioli. This was unbelievable.
Stole mine
on the weekend. And look at this. Look at the lap. He got to 35 k's an hour, little Momo there, and then the Superman dive. They were calling him Superman at Punt Road apparently today, but it was an incredible effort, and this one here was unbelievable too. When he is at his best in the vicinity, there is no better pressure player than Maurice Rioli.
He looked sharp,
in the AFL.
didn't he?
He was very, very
sharp on the weekend. Mine comes from the game yesterday at the MCG. Fremantle play Collingwood. Now, don't blink, because you'll miss it. Boom.
Oof.
Did you see that?
Oh, another throw.
Luke Jackson.
Throw?
That's what we might
That was
throw.
quickest handball over the weekend, which set up this goal from Boss. Ready? Boop.
There he is.
That is from a 200-centimetre ruckman.
That's class, isn't it? Mine was on Friday night, Cam Rayner. I love the idea of being physical and imposing yourself on the opposition. So there's still physicality in the game, but that tackle, he was late in the first quarter, really set the agenda. And then later, he took a nice mark there. This was about 20 seconds after. Once again, Oscar McInerney, ruckman, quick little handoff, and then a finish by Cam Rayner.
Now, Jack, we all know that umpires make lots of mistakes.
This is the bad.
This is the bad, and it was bad. Clayton Oliver, here, this is... Melbourne are 2 points down, I reckon, at this point.
That's holding the ball, isn't it?
Oliver does tackles a bloke, and it's clearly dropping the ball.
Is that dissent?
Well, of course it is. It's
wasn't paid.
But you know why he got away with it? Because he was right. I mean, and that game, and the Carlton go up the other end and kick a goal, and the game over. Now, there's millions of reasons why teams lose games of footy, but in that situation,
that's got to be better.
That is match losing.
Bucks.
Say yes, Bucks.
Me, is it? Yeah, well, I've got my... backing that up, I've got this one, which was dissent. Now, I think that tackle was fair from young Carl Warner, and he was... I think Chris Scott was talking about this in 360 earlier. He said he was probably just talking to himself, saying that's clearly not a free kick. But look, that's a big penalty to play, and I think often the dissent. I would take that rule out of the rule book, absolutely, because you don't want an umpire to feel like he has to pay a free kick for dissent, because you're more likely making one error a howler. And I think that's exactly what happened there.
Yeah, no, that was a bad one. Mine's the Giants. And
this is me, isn't it?
No, I think it's me.
Okay.
You go.
Sorry.
I'm the Giants. And so, I just wonder about where the Giants are at the moment in terms of the ruthless behaviour versus sides they should beat. They are very good against the good sides, Mike, but they needed a statement. And Adam Kingsley said they needed a statement and they needed to be ruthless. And they lost inside 50s. Yes, they won by 50 points, but that game was there for the taking for an absolute belting on the weekend, and I'm just not sold on their brand against those sides.
This is an epidemic, and it needs to stop. I'm not too sure who patient zero is, but it's creeping into everyone who is having a set shot. It's unhygienic. It is players who are having set shots, taking their mouth guard out of their mouth and putting it into places that it don't need to go.
Geordie.
Yes, it is unhygienic, and I need to talk to a few sports scientists, but I'm tipping it doesn't improve your set shot accuracy. So players,
better velocity.
Leave the mouth guard in your mouth where it belongs.
Mike, the ugly?
The ugly for me is the SCG, and this is not an umpire bashing session, but here is we watch LDU here. Now, falls over on the SCG because it's substandard, and the umpire pays a trip. Now, he's 10 or 12 metres away. How do they do that? My criticism of umpires is not that they can misinterpret things, but when they see it and it's in front of them, how can they get that wrong?
I'm not too sure, but
That's a bad one. You're going to go the umps too, are you?
No, it just falls into... I just thought this was amusing, and this is what maybe players have to deal with, the two umpires being inside the forward 50 for the same result. I thought this particular one from Leicester was harsh. And when you see one umpire say play on and one umpire say holding the ball...
Oh, my gosh.
No wonder the players are confused.
Well, my ugly comes from Carlton v Melbourne. The great Nathan Buckley was in comms there, Bucks, and you had this to say about young Moyes' goal kicking.
I found it a couple of weeks ago that he actually kicks each set shot on the opposite side, so he will have his next set shot as a right footer.
And to announce his arrival.
Gee, that's great. And we can also say that Nathan Buckley was wrong, because he kicked it with his left foot. He did. So he wasn't alternating feet with the set shot.
Now, Bucks, you've been hanging out to dry there by Shamai, but my ugly is the Chief just absolutely tipping on you there. He needed to back you in and go, you know what? Do you want to return serve on what actually was meant to happen?
I was actually out of the commentary box on the way down to do half time,
right,
so I didn't even
know.
see that happen. But isn't it bad? Like when a source gives you bad information, it's no good.
That's no good.
Does that ever happen to you?
Happened to me, Bucks.
All right, well, we've got to take our final break, and it's a big night for the Bulldogs, Mike. We're going to come back and talk about their top 25 players of all time, which you voted in. I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to say about the Doggies.
They want attacking, purposeful football all the time.
Whitten, there's nobody home. He has a clear go instead of John Schultz kick. It's a high one.
Hawkins with courage. Brilliant play by Hawkins.
Now we've got our backs against the wall. We're going to fight. And we're going to fight hard.
Johnson! It is on! Can you believe it?
You've got to show me all the guts and all the determination you've got in your body. You've got to inspire me.
The Dogs are in front by a point.
Yes, there's been some greats that have donned the red, white and blue for the Western Bulldogs and the Footscray Football Club, and they are joining tonight at the Whitten Oval, Mike, to celebrate their top 25 players of all time.
Correct.
And you were very lucky to vote in it.
Yeah, sometimes when you're voting, you're not sure you are lucky, Jack.
What's the process?
Who's your favourite?
My favourite player...
Who's your favourite Bulldog?
Well, I
No,
can't
don't
give
give
you
us the
one.
voting, but just...
I can't give you one. Well, Bonampelli, Hawk, Doug Hawkins, everyone loved the Hawk.
Yep.
And one from the outside left field was Dale Morris. I just loved that bloke.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
just reliable.
Brisbane at the moment as a
played
coach.
tall and small. They'd be my three, with apologies to about 15 others.
So what do they do tonight? Top 25?
Top 25?
Answer to say?
25 in
Yep.
history.
Just in history,
And
and
they
then-
name 1 to 5 in
In order. Ooh. Is there any surprises in the 5? You can't tell us because it hasn't been announced yet.
No,
but
okay.
Are you on social media? You might get some direct feedback
tweet it.
as the night unfolds.
No. Well, I'm not on social media.
For that reason.
There's one surprise to me in the top 5, yeah.
Bucks, who's your favourite Bulldog of all time?
Dougie Hawkins. I actually played on Dougie in his 300th game on his wing at Western Oval. At Western Oval. Yes, he did a few times, but he was a beauty.
Yeah. Mike, well, we're not going to have you next week, but how have you enjoyed the last fight?
No, I've loved it,
back
Jack.
on the couch.
It's nice to be relevant again, actually.
Can we pencil you in for next year, maybe?
It's in to be alive.
Come on, Mike. Well, we've got a big 4 derbies on the weekend. We're looking forward to those, and we're looking forward to you joining us next week with Brownie, who's back on the couch.